Well, welcome to the Unstoppable Freedom Podcast. I'm Jimmy Page. This is the format called Freedom Under Fire. The top 3 headlines you need to know about. Each Freedom Under Fire segment does 3 things. Number 1, it keeps you on top of the most important issues affecting your freedoms today. Number 2, it lets you know why it matters. And number 3, it tells you what you can do about it. So here we go. Here are the top 3 headlines for the week of March 27th, 2023. Headline number 1, Austin, Texas anti-cop policies lead to hours-long waits for 911 calls. So what's happening? Well, police in Austin, Texas allegedly took over 2 hours to respond to a head-on collision caused by a suspected drunk driver. That's because the city's hyper-liberal defund the police policies have left the department understaffed by hundreds of officers. The wreck happened in a part of the city which should have been patrolled by 25 officers. Instead, only 5 police officers were working when a suspected drunk driver crossed into oncoming traffic and slammed into a woman's car and her family. The guy in the other car admitted to drinking. He reeked of alcohol. He had trouble standing, so they called the police. But by the time the police arrived, the man had sufficiently sobered up and police were unable to press charges. The estimates are 300 to 400 less police officers are available than are needed. So this is manifesting itself in situations like this. Well, the Austin Police Department is so understaffed, 911 calls are being redirected to the 311 non-emergency number in many cases. Well, why does this matter? Well, it matters because this is the same story being told in every single city where the progressive defund the police nonsense has taken root. Cities like Minneapolis, Portland, Seattle, New York City, Atlanta, Baltimore, Chicago, LA, Milwaukee, and on the list goes. Oakland, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Denver, San Francisco, Dallas, San Diego. The list is literally endless. It matters because if you live in a blue town, or a blue city, it is likely that your city council is considering reducing the funding to or reallocating it to unarmed community service responders. Well, what can you do about it? Number 1, you need to be vocal in your support of your local police. Visit them and ask them how you can best support them in your community. Number 2, call your city council and ask them if they have any intention of reducing funding for your police. And number 3, show up for community comment at city council meetings to voice your support for law enforcement. And by the way, it's important that you bring your neighbors. Every single community wants more police presence, especially minority communities. Okay, headline number 2, nightmare. 6 killed in calculated mass shooting at Nashville school. Well, what's happening? By now you've heard about it. A shooter named Audrey Hale, a transgender male, armed with 2 rifles and a handgun, killed 3 students and 3 staff members at Covenant Christian School in Nashville, Tennessee. She had a detailed map of Covenant School, a school for students in preschool through 6th grade, and she shot through a side door to gain entry to the school. Metro Nashville Police Department Chief John Drake stated that the shooter had prior planning to the shooting. She had drawn detailed maps, including entry points to the building. And she had described how, quote, all this was going to take place. The police also discovered a written manifesto the shooter had planned to attack several different places, saying a manifesto belonging to the suspect indicates that there were going to be shootings at multiple locations and the school was just one of them. We have to say, police responded heroically. They responded decisively, hunting down the shooter as soon as they arrived on the scene. But it took police 14 minutes to arrive after the 911 call. 14 minutes. There was no armed security at the school. It's a tragedy that seems to be repeated over and over. Why does this matter? Well, first, because it's an all too familiar tragedy that's absolutely unacceptable in America. These types of tragedies are now foreseeable. And we have an obligation to keep our kids safe at school and to do anything we need to make that happen. These situations are largely preventable, and we must do everything possible to harden these targets, reduce the risk, and keep our kids safe. Well, what can you do about it? Well, number one, you need to ask questions. You need to ask your school if they've done a comprehensive threat assessment conducted by security experts. You need to ask them if they have armed and trained security on school grounds at all times. Number three, you have to ask them if they have an active shooter response plan in place and how often they drill and train to it. Depending on those answers, you also need to show up at your school board meeting during public comment and express your concerns and hold them accountable. We also have created a free take action resource called Keep Our Kids Safe at School, and it's available at our website at ufafreedom.com. If you're a teacher and a state and local laws permit you to conceal carry and be fully trained to respond in emergencies like this, you should consider being prepared. Okay, headline number 3, Colorado anti-Second Amendment bills advance out of one chamber and have been sent to the opposite chamber for approval, which of course will be rubber stamped by the governor. What's happening? Well, in this past week, anti-Second Amendment politicians returned to Denver and stayed up all hours of the night to pass their extreme gun control agenda that does 4 things. First, it expands Colorado's red flag gun confiscations. They allow the government to confiscate weapons of law-abiding citizens who have not committed a crime without due process. It also denies Second Amendment rights to adults under 21, the same people that can vote and enlist in the military at the age of 18. This legislation also seeks to bankrupt the firearms industry by holding them liable for criminal behavior. And it also requires a 3-day waiting period between firearm purchase and possession. Despite all the efforts to stop this, this liberal government has rammed these pieces of legislation through. Now, why does this matter? Well, number one, gun laws, gun bans don't stop crime. Most violent crimes, statistically, are committed with guns which occur in states with the strictest gun laws on the books, and even in gun-free zones. It also matters because it ensures that we can protect our loved ones, our kids, our families, and even our property. Anti-Second Amendment progressives will not stop until all guns are removed from good, law-abiding citizens who exercise their rights to protect their families. According to research, guns are used by law-abiding citizens to prevent over 1 million crimes or defend themselves each year. Guns, you heard that right, guns protect law-abiding citizens and prevent over 1 million crimes a year. These laws make all of us, including women, children, and families, more vulnerable to violent crime. The Second Amendment states, and I just want to remind you, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Well, what can we do about it? Well, number one, when all of this nonsense legislation gets rammed through, it's an opportunity to go buy another gun, to get more ammo, and to get gun safety training. It's important that you safely handle firearms and that you're proficient in their use. And number two, now is the time to get your concealed carry permit if it's legal in your state so that you can protect yourself, your family, your loved ones, and your community. And number three, even though this unconstitutional legislation is advancing in Colorado, it is coming to your state. So it's important that you call your legislators and express your opposition to anti-Second Amendment laws. There are the top 3 headlines. Freedom is under fire every single day, and now is the time to stand up and protect our liberties wherever they're under attack. See you next time.